Hi, I'm Michaela Chapman. I'm 18 years old. I currently attend Stetson University, and today I'm here to talk to you about whether you believe dance should be a sport. So, basically, first things first, what do people generally consider a sport? When I hear people talk about sports, they usually talk about football, basketball, volleyball, soccer, things like that. But I generally believe that dance should be considered a sport. Yes, dance is an art form, but it also takes endurance, dedication, time. You have to have a lot of stamina. You have to work your muscles in a different way, and in the same way you would that you do basketball, volleyball, etc. So I feel as though that gives dance the utmost respect to be considered a sport. So first things first is, let's get to our second point. So we hit the basis of what you believe is a sport. Everybody thinks basketball, volleyball, soccer is a sport. I personally believe that dance should be considered a sport too. So our second point is the work ethic. So basically we're going to be talking about what it takes to dance, what it takes to do football, what it takes to do basketball, things like that. So with dance, I've been dancing for 16 years. I started when I was 2. I'm 18 now. So dance has a lot of components. It's not just about twirling, as they say, spinning around. It's more to it. You have to have the knowledge, you have to have the heart, you have to have the drive for it, just like you would do football. You can't just go into football practice thinking, oh, I'm just gonna do this halfway and hopefully I can make the championship, or hopefully I can make the playoffs. That's not how it works. You have to put your time, your dedication, your heart, and you have to prepare mentally for all the challenges that are going to happen, all the practices, the training, everything like that. That's the same thing with dance. If you take it seriously, if you're going to take it seriously, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. Dance requires a lot of time. You have to spend hours and hours training and practicing and making sure that your muscles memorize the steps that they need to memorize in order to do the step correctly, if that makes sense. So for instance, say I had a performance. June 12th, and I need to start practicing June 2nd. That's the same thing as saying, oh, I have a game June 12th. I'm going to continuously practice June 2nd and on until my game June 12th, if that makes sense. So for dance, you're going to keep working, you're going to keep practicing those routines, you're going to memorize those routines, you're going to know and learn how to do those routines, you're going to learn the steps, you're going to break down what you need to do in order to complete that task full out. That's the same with football practice. You have to remember your plays, you have to memorize your plays, you have to know the technique that goes behind the steps that create that play, if that makes sense. So I feel like that gives dance the right to be called a sport. They have the same training. It might be different, but the aspect of it is the same. You have the endurance, you need stamina. In order to push through your practice for football, you need endurance, you need stamina, you can't just pass out. You have to work, you have to train your body, you have to train your mind to prepare for that game. Same with dance. You have to say, oh, I have 2 performances that day. For instance, June 12th, like we were talking about earlier, you may have 2 performances. You may do the same dance twice. If you practice only doing that dance once, you're not going to be able to prepare. You're not going to be able to prepare your body for being able to do the dance twice. So in practice, you have to run the dance, clean it, go over it, go back, run it again, go from this part, that part. So you're training your mind and you're preparing yourself. You're preparing your body to do that dance multiple times. Let's get to our third point. So let's go back. First point, what is a sport? A sport is not necessarily football, basketball, soccer, things like that. I believe that dance is considered a sport because of the work ethic, which brings us to our second point. Dance requires you to have stamina, flexibility, strength, endurance, and it requires you to have the mental, your mental state to be, not to be, how do I put this? It needs to be high, can't be low. You have to be strong enough to push yourself. Same with football, same with basketball, same with any athletic sport. You need to make sure that your mind is ready, your body is ready, the training, you need to eat right. That's the same with dance. You have to eat right, you have to have a good diet. That brings us to our third and final point, which is the debate portion, if that makes sense. Why people don't consider dance to be a sport. Why people do consider dance to be a sport. So, let's go over the don'ts. Why people believe that dance shouldn't become a sport or be called a sport. They believe, when I was doing my research, they were saying that the main point that they were bringing to my attention was they considered dance to be an art form and not a sport, because a sport is considered to be competitive. You have no choice but to be competitive. You have to compete in order for a thing to be a sport, which I don't necessarily agree with, if that makes sense. I believe that if you're doing basketball for fun, you're just going to the park and you're just hooping and making shots, and you're by yourself and you do it every day, you train every day, you practice every day. That makes you an athlete, but you're not competing, if that makes sense. If a coach is coaching you and he goes home and he practices every day to teach you, to train you, he's an athlete and he's doing the sport, but he's not competing. He's teaching you, he's coaching you so that you can get better. I find that was really important to me, because I feel like you can do things for fun. It doesn't necessarily have to compete. You can always train yourself, like, hey, I want to go learn how to play basketball. I don't want to compete it, I just want to learn. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like in my thought process and in my brain, that makes a big difference. And it helps prove my point for making dance a sport, because yes, there can be competitions and there is a competitive nature to dance, but it's not all about competing. People do it for fun. People just want to express their emotions, express how they're feeling. They want to just do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not all about competing. So with that being said, I want to know from you, do you believe dance should be a sport? Yes or no?